Okay, in this tutorial, we're going to learn how to trace an existing two-dimensional logo and create a three-dimensional logo out of it. We're also going to use this in the context of the 3D printer. Okay, so here we are in Modeler. So the first thing we're going to do is to put the image of the 2D logo in the background so that we can see it. Now, the way we're going to do that is we're going to hit the D button on the keyboard for display options. Now, display options give you a lot of different things here. What we're going to do here is we're going to go to the backdrop. The backdrop, you see we have basically the 4 quadrants there, and we're going to choose the bottom left because that's the one we look at head on. This is the top and that would be the side. We're going to choose the bottom left, and we're going to load an image. Load image. And we happen to have a logo already in place, and it's a familiar logo to many of you, the Methodist University logo. So there it is as a background in the viewport. So what we're going to do also is we're going to increase its size a little bit. So we'll get it to the point where we can get a good look at it. And of course we'll move it down so that we can work with it. And that's good enough for now. Alright, so there's the logo, and as you can see, it isn't a particularly good representation of the logo. There's a lot of jaggedies there. This is the kind of thing that the client is going to give you from time to time. They don't necessarily understand resolution and such things, and so what we have to do is we have to take that and make something good out of it. And you'll see it's actually going to be incredibly easy. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the bottom part of the logo, and we're not even going to have to trace all of it. So if I go into my Create tab and I select points, I'm going to create points to represent one of those towers. So I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom of this tower, and I'm going to click on my first point. So there it is. Then I'm going to scoot up here, go to where that line would end, and I'm going to right click to create a second point, and a third, and a fourth, and a fifth, and then of course I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom once again and create a final point. Now if you look at the upper plane here, you'll see they're all on the same plane, and so because of that we can create a polygon. So under the Create tab, I go to Make Polygon, and lo and behold, if you look up here, we have the shape of that tower as a two-dimensional object. And so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to make that three-dimensional. So if I'm looking at it from above, I go to Multiply, and I use the Extrude feature, and I give that some depth. Let's say I want to make it like that, nice and straight. And if I go over here, I can see that I now have one of those tower shapes. Turn off Extrude. And so if I want to make the second tower, that's actually pretty easy. What I'll do is I'll go into Polygon mode. I'll select that shape, edit copy, edit paste, and you'll see if I go into move, I can move that to the side, and there it is. And you see I can position it with using this one, and notice the tower is facing the wrong way. So if we're going to turn that around, we could rotate it. We could also simply go into the Modify tab, go to the Translate area, and I'm going to choose Flip. So I'm going to flip that on the x-axis. And you see, there it is. So then, if I move it again, I can see that I can position it using the logo as a guide, and I can get that right where it's supposed to be, and then I'll line it up using the top window and make sure that I'm on the line with the other one. That looks pretty good. And so there we have 2 towers. And so then, if I do another edit paste, I have a third one. And this one, I'm going to move there. And that one I am going to rotate by 90 degrees. And I'm going to move that into position. Now you see we have a different problem here if you look at the way this works out. Notice now that the tower is appearing slightly wider at the top than it's supposed to. And the reason why that is because it's tapered. And so what we're going to do is we're going to fix that. I'm going to go into point mode, and I'm going to select all the points that appear on the top of the tower. Then I'm going to modify and stretch those and bring those in. How's that? And then I'll release those points. And because I've done it there, I kind of have to do it to the other ones too. So I'll take those and I'll stretch those also. And so I'm just doing it by eye, just matching the other one. I'll move that so that it has the same overall look, and maybe stretch it a little bit more. And that's about right. Then finally, all I have to do is take this, go back into polygon mode, edit copy, edit paste, and basically move that last tower into position and rotate that at 180 degrees. And I'll move that back like so. And so at this point, I'm positioning these towers so that they're equidistant to each other. And I'm going to say that that's pretty close. Yeah. So if we look up here, we can see we get a good representation of the tower. Okay, so the next part of the model will be to create the actual words, Methodist University. Normally that would be off to the side. We're going to put that below the tower because we're going to make this like a monument. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a new layer, create this in the back, make a new layer, put this in the background, and we're going to draw a box. And I'm going to create a pedestal for this, like so. And I'm going to move that below the tower. And that's about right. Get a little bit wider there. And that should do nicely. And while I'm here, I'm going to get rid of that logo image. We no longer need it. So if I go to bottom left, I'm just going to go ahead and turn that off. And the last thing we're going to do is to create some words. So if I go to another layer, put the other two in the background, I'm going to write Methodist University. And to do that, I'm going to use the logo tool because that's really the easiest way to do it. I'm going to say Methodist University. And the accepted font for Methodist University is called Minion. It's important to know those things. If you're going to do a company logo, you really have to have, sometimes they have their own special font that they created. Sometimes they use an existing one. Minion Pro is the one that is used by Methodist University. And there it is. So as you can see, the words Methodist University are a little bit too big. So we'll go to Modify Size, get that a little bit smaller, and we'll move it so that frame it with the base. Of course, we'll bring it to the front. So we're going to have that sticking out. This is going to be like a logo. Then we're going to select just the second word there. And we're going to move that down below. Then we're going to center the whole thing. And if you look at the model, it works. I'm going to put everything in the foreground so that you can see we now have the Methodist University logo. Okay, so at this point, what we want to do is we want to get the logo ready for the 3D printer. And really, there isn't much to that, except for one thing that we have to start with. We're going to print this out as one piece. Right now, it's in 3 layers. If I export this as an STL file, which I'll have to do to print it, it's going to only export 1 layer at a time. So I have to flatten the layers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically save the object, and I'm going to, I'll just put this on the desktop, and I'm going to call this tower_logo. So I have it saved with all 3 layers. Then I'm going to save it again. This time I'm going to save layers as object, and that will be tower_logo B. Then I'm going to open that one, load object, and there's the logo B object. Notice it's exactly the same, except it only has 1 layer, which is good. That way, instead of flattening the layers permanently, we have this as a separate version. Then all I'm going to do is I'm going to export an STL. I'm going to go with the defaults, and I'm going to hit OK. And this will be tower_logo, and we'll call it print. And there it is.